Hello, welcome back to another Pen Talk. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for finding my channel on the YouTube dial and joining me on my exploration of the wide world of pens. Those that watch some of my videos may notice and recognize this pen as being the one that was included in with the Ranga pen that I recently received. One of the interesting things that a lot of Indian pen makers do is they throw in a student pen, a lower end pen, but still a nice pen. So we're going to explore this one. It is crab worthy, not necessarily turntable worthy, but definitely crab worthy. It is branded. Exam kind of lends itself to that student perspective. It's a clean design, nothing thrilling. It's certainly thin. The cap comes off with a little bit over 1.5 turns. I mean, it's just injection molded plastic, piston filler, blind cap. The length of the pen works fine in your hand. It's a very light pen, will give you the weights. It's a very thin section, it'll give you the dimensions. As expected from looking at the design, it does post deeply, securely, and doesn't change the balance at all, so you could easily use this posted, which to me is a good trait for a student pen, where you're going to uncap it, post it, and take notes as you would like. So let's explore this pen a little bit more. Let's put some ink in it, and let's see how that interesting steel nib writes. So here is the Oliver. I'll disassemble as much as I'm going to do it, basically pulling the nib and feed out. So what makes this pen different than any other low-cost student-type pen is it has a hand-cut ebonite feed, and that channel's, to me, very reminiscent of vintage. The Waterman spoon feed had a channel like that. The fins don't connect to the channel, so they really don't serve any particular purpose. Just a lot of interesting carving going on there. But, for a pen that probably cost a few dollars and was given away as a free pen with the Ranga pen, it certainly is a unique feed for that type of pen. It's just a one-piece injection molded barrel with this blind cap. The piston moves up and down. It's a little stiff, but when we fill it with ink, we'll see how functional it is. And my guess is you just keep turning this, and eventually you can unscrew it and pull out the piston, kind of like what a lot of you can do with the Noodler's piston fillers. I'm not going to do that. No need to now. It works fine. The cap has that classic design of the finial is threaded into the top of the cap, and that holds down the clip, which works fine. It's kind of springy, kind of nondescript, heavily gold-plated, like that band at the bottom of the cap, which I think is very functional because it covers all of that injection molded plastic. So that's the pen. So we're going to find an ink that is suitable, ink it up, and see how that nib writes. One thing that I also think gives this pen some uniqueness is the nib is branded with the name of the maker of the pen, Oliver. Not certain what the B-CO means. It's certainly steel, and I would definitely say that's in the extra fine variety. And it looks like it's a pretty much standard number 5, so if we want to, we could swap it out. Here's what it looks like on the first fill. That's a very good first fill. Not much air left there at all. And yes, I didn't wipe off the end of the pen, so I'm getting ink on my fingers. That shows you how well it's made, how well the piston works in that barrel. So I think that's a nice example. So what ink called out to me? This ink called out to me. Very nice bottle. I got 2 Nimousin inks. Yes, I was a little cautious, and I thought maybe the ink might be a little bit light for that fine nib, but we'll see. It's just a nice yellowish red on the light side of red. Certainly not a deep red. Look at the chromatography. We'll see how they get the color. You know, that band at the top is a red, a different style of red, and there's yellow, orange going into red. Let's see how it works in the pen. Well, one thing that was nice about this 100% steel nib and that ebonite feed is when I reassembled it, this nib can be placed anywhere in relationship to the feed, and I put the feed pretty much as close as I could to the end. So if you get that opportunity, that generally makes the nib wetter because the ink flow is further down, closer to the tipping end than it is, and that necessary gives you a wetter flow. Not all feeds and nibs you can do that with, but this ebonite feed and this nib in this inexpensive pen gives you that opportunity. And we'll see in the writing how wet it is. Now one might talk about when the rubber hits the road. It's inked up. I've written with it. I now need to summarize my feelings about the pen. It is an inexpensive pen. Cost a few dollars. And one of the things, after using it for a while, I realized that it really doesn't post well. It just falls off. So that's unfortunate because I originally expected it and hoped it would post okay. I mean, you don't need it to post from a lengthwise, but the pen's very light. That section is very tiny. With a light pen, it's not as much of a factor, but it certainly can be uncomfortable over time. As you feel those threads, you feel the step up. They could be smoother, but again, it's an inexpensive pen. So the question comes about is if you're going to spend a few dollars, there's a lot of pens obviously available in the Chinese market, which are similar made, but a little bit more attention to detail. This is an AliExpress pen. Here's the order that I placed. The piston works very nicely up and down. Aesthetically, I think they did a very nice job with this pen. And if you wanted to spend under $2, the Jinhao 992 is still a good buy. Excellent nib on it. And yes, they may have some issues with cracking and things like that, so you buy a few of them. This pen doesn't appear to be for sale anyplace. Here's what the Oliver website looks like, or some approximation of it. It's probably a bulk buy that Ranga did with Oliver, because Oliver makes a lot of pens for corporate use and things of that nature. It's nice that they gave it away. Let's see how it writes. In doing some research on the Oliver exam pen, I found this review on YouTube. I'll put a link in the description. The reviewer liked the pen, which is nice. I also found his listing on Etsy, which is hard to understand. That price is, I'd say, fairly high. I found a listing from Asa in India, and that price seems to be a little bit more reasonable, but still $8 US is, I think, a high price for this pen. I don't think the pen's made anymore. They may have made a run at them and people grabbed them, and that's how Ranga got their supply. But it's certainly a pen of interest. So my first impressions of writing with this pen is it's okay. It exceeds my expectations because I didn't have very high expectations. The nib is okay on the paper. It's relatively smooth. For that fine nib, I think it's what you would expect. It's not exceptionally smooth. There's no give to it. It's extremely stiff. You can push out a little bit more ink. And it does lay down a decent amount of ink, which is nice. And I'm impressed with how well it shows off this Solar Storm ink. I had expectations, and they have been exceeded also. So do I recommend this pen? Well, there's not really anything to recommend because I don't think you can buy it. If you get one with your Ranga pen, as the YouTube reviewer said, use it. It's definitely worth using, or it's definitely a nice starter pen for somebody. So let's rate this pen. I'm going to give it an 8.0. And it just gets one check because it was free. You know, you can get similar types of pens if you wanted to buy similar types of pens. Many Chinese makers make these pens, as I showed one example, and there are tons of them. You can just do a search on eBay for piston fill pens and then sort it on lowest price first, and you'll see a ton of them. So you've reached the end of this video. Thank you for watching. May you find a pen that you like. Hope you all staying safe, healthy, and happy. Hopefully you're all enjoying your pens, enjoying your life. We've reached the end of this video. We're going to say bye until the next video. Reliable writer.